What is up, everybody? I am Steve SBU coming at you guys with the mid-season standings of the MMC Draft League hosted by Manaburn. We're going to be starting off from number 18 and working our way up all the way to the top. We're just going to be analyzing their team, how they did this season so far, and just giving some general predictions on possible playoff standings, who's in the running for them, and who do I feel like will be making it to playoffs, and hopefully maybe who will be winning as well. Okay, so to start us off, we have Joey in 18th, owner of the Charlotte Crosses. Let's take a look at his team real quick. But currently he is minus 21 in differential with 4 losses so far. He hasn't played his week 5 just yet. With Joey, I kind of understand it a little bit more. This is Joey's team right here, the full stall team. With Joey, I can kind of understand it a little bit. He and I talked a little bit in private at one point, and he mentioned that he just hasn't had the time to build up any teams for each week, so he's been bringing just about the same team every single week, which it's really hard to cook and make up a good team when you're bringing the same thing every week, and it's pretty easy to exploit that. But I feel like if Joey starts to play a little bit, well, not play better, but if his schedule starts freeing up more, giving him some more time to play Mons and everything, I feel like he has a chance to possibly make it back. Minus 21 is really tough to get to, but I don't think he's going to make it, considering that he is minus 21 right now. That means he'd have to get several 6-0s in order to even make it to neutral in differential, and considering that people's differentials are only going to get more polarizing as the weeks go on, I feel at least, I don't think he's going to be making it to playoffs. However, I do feel like he has potential to get some really good wins going forward should his schedule allow for it. And then let's look at number 17, which is the Quagsire Quakers. Right here. Quagsire Quakers, where are you? Here. Okay. With Salt here. I do really like Salt's team. I've prepped against Manaburn using his team in an earlier week, and I really enjoyed using it. However, I feel like it is very situational. I feel like a lot of his Mons are fairly weak to similar things. Like he has a pretty big fighting weakness, however, with Landorus Incarnate, that kind of blocks that up a little bit, including Hisuian Typhlosion. I feel like, I don't know, the same sort of thing I have been saying for a few different teams. Like, it seems really fun to play with. Like, I really enjoyed it. I just feel like it's hard to explain. Like, he has good defensive Mons with Diancie, Eviolite Magneton, and Quagsire. It's just, I feel like it's exploitable. Like, none of his, like, all of his Pokemon, for an example, like, his defensive Pokemon get destroyed by ground. Ground kind of eats up his team. The only thing that resists it is Meowscarada, and he has 2 immunities in Landorus Incarnate and Aerodactyl. But then at the same time, like, he has 2 flying types. He has lots of Ice Weak Pokemon as well. He just has lots of overlapping weaknesses, which I feel makes for a fairly easily exploitable team. And then just to look back at his score here, he has minus 15, so 6 points ahead of Joey. Again, I feel like he could possibly make it. I'm not 100% sure, as he has 1 win and 4 losses, and differential only really comes into case when it comes to placements between like ties, like with the 3 and 2 here. But if he gets more wins going forward, I could see him at least going 4 and 4. Well, actually, no, there's 10 weeks. I could see him going like maybe 5 and 5, maybe 6-4 if he really like goes hard in the next couple weeks and wins consistently. Even if it's just by a little bit, getting that differential up a little bit, getting a few wins here and there would be really nice. And then just looking at his, okay, Quagsire Quakers. Let's look at the schedule for him real quick. Quagsire Quakers. I need to look at his name. My bad. Okay. Oh, okay, so he's playing Victory Stars as well as Byronio. And then he plays me week 8. Yeah, he's got a pretty stacked couple weeks here. He's got Willow, so he's fighting the Snow team, the Sun team, Byronio, and me. And then he's also going up against Forza in week 10. That is a pretty tough couple of weeks coming up. Like, just to look at gosh darn it. Like, to look at the standings, I'm at number 2. Forza is at number 6. Like, I'd say, where is he? The Independent, Registeals, like, he's the lowest ranked team that he's going to be going up against. And everyone else, I believe, is either close to or in, like, the playoff range right here. So it's going to be a tough couple weeks, but he could definitely do it if he works really tough and cooks like crazy. And next up, we got Melbourne McGearnas. I do remember I really like his team. Melbourne McGearnas, where are you at? Right here. Guy with trash team. Really hyper offense. I really like his team, but he is very weak to fighting, which is how I was able to end up beating him with Urshifu Rapid Strike, because his only two, well, he has 3 Mons that do fairly well against fighting. 1 dies to a single poison jab, which a lot of Mons get. Galarian Slowbro is a really good counter to most fighting types. And Bramblegast, I do like. It's just, it's tough. It's tough to validate it because it's got so many other weaknesses that can be exploited as well. But really strong offense with good defense. I honestly am kind of surprised he hasn't won more, to be honest. I feel like he definitely has the makings of a really good team. And from what I've seen, he's played fairly well. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, he's at -10 with 1-4. So, like, in all honesty, he hasn't lost by much. He's been doing really well in keeping the games close at the very least. So I can definitely give him major props there. That's something to be proud of. And, like, just for reference, like, this could easily go up to playoffs if he gets a few wins. Like, if he even goes even at 5-5, like, that definitely puts him in contention for possible playoffs. And I feel like his team is definitely built to be able to make it if he does end up getting those dubs. Because Mega Kangaskhan, Kingambit, like, Specs Keldeo, like, Ogerpon, Heartflame, like, these are really good Mons. And I feel like he can really eke out a couple wins here with some really good tech. Like, when he played against me, that Keldeo really had some good moves. But I feel like playing to the Mon's strength is one of the things that just needs to be remembered. Like, Keldeo, like, yeah, it's got a lot of support tools, but you can also just slap on choice specs and click buttons too. Like, not saying that you should do that every week, but, and again, I don't exactly remember every single match that I have watched. I have tried to watch every single match, but there's just some that you just don't remember, especially when they're not yours. But that's sort of what I would say, is just bring more defensive Pokemon and then play to the strengths of the offense. Like, bring your guard, bring your Galarian Slowking, not Slowking, Galarian Slowbro. Like, bring this Mon. This Mon is really good to be able to set up toxic spikes, to be able to switch around, like with teleport, spread paralysis. Like, I've brought Galarian Slowking every week. Yeah, Galarian Slowking is a bit better than Glowbro, but it's still a really good Pokemon. Like, I think you need to start bringing this more often personally. But that's just me. I am a big, like, Slow Twins enjoyer. So that's just me personally. I do think you have really good potential to make it to playoffs this season. It's just making sure that you seal those dubs and get a few wins in here, even if you don't fix that differential and only get like the next couple wins where they're like 1-0, 2-0, like that's all you really need. Like up here, San Francisco Superiors 3-2 and a differential of 1. Like, that easily puts you in contention for playoff division should things not get so polarizing. Like, I definitely, and that's only if it's 1 and 2. If you get a few 6-0s in there, 5-0s, and with your offense, I definitely could see that happening. So I really like your team, and I feel like this is one of the teams that has big potential to move up as we go on. And then we have Team Plasma Porygons. I remember that is Kenny's team. Kenny is right here. He's got Chi-Yu, Gliscor, Ogerpon, Clefable, Okidogi. Like, honestly, to be fair, like, to be completely honest, these 5 are coming every week. If they aren't, then it's because the matchup is severely not in favor. Because, to be honest, these Mons are not very good. Registeel, I like Registeel. I personally think Regirock is just always better. It's a decent steel type. And yes, it is your main, like, fairy type resistance. But in all honesty, like, slap on an Assault Vest on Okidogi, and you're great. You eat every Moonblast, and Gliscor takes every physical move. Every physical fairy move. Like, you don't need Registeel here. And it just doesn't do much, in my opinion. And then Electros is not great. It's versatile, I'll give you that. It can do things. Like, this is one of the Mons I could see filling that 6th spot. Articuno, I used to be a big Articuno hater, but after playing against it a few times by someone in a different league who had it, I saw that how annoying this Pokemon could be, especially with Freeze Dry and Roost and that really big Spadef stat. I really like it. Another Mon I could see filling that 6th spot. Spidops, I could definitely see that as well. Being able to set up Sticky Web is really good for Okidogi and Chi-Yu, being able to lower the opponent's speed so then they can outspeed, especially if this thing isn't running Assault Vest but instead doing like a Choice Band set. Like, that is really good. And if Chi-Yu is going Specs, that is really helpful. Sliggoo, I don't really see it, because even if you really, really need a Steel type, you're never bringing Sliggoo, you are always bringing Registeel. And as for Dragon, like, yeah, it's a Dragon type, but it's not a good Dragon type. You usually want a better one. I don't even know if this thing even gets Draco. But if it does, okay, valid. But if it doesn't, I don't see why you would ever bring it over Registeel. And then Fion, it's got Take Heart, but overall base 80 stats just aren't good. For the price, yes, it's very good. But I feel like you don't want 2 waters, I feel like. Yeah, this is a water grass, so kinda overlap, like the weaknesses don't really overlap. But I feel like most of the time you're going to either be bringing these 4 Mons in the last slot, and I think you should always be bringing these Pokemon up here. That's just me personally. You might have done that. I'm not 100% sure. Not gonna lie, because again, like I said, I don't remember every single battle that you've done. But that's just my opinion on your team. You should always be bringing these five, and then like these three almost always should be going in that last spot. If you really need a steel type, okay, Registeel. These last two Pokemon you really can ignore most of the time, I feel like. And then for your differential, you're also at -10, so you're tied with the Melbourne Magearnas. Again, this is another team I could sort of see moving up. I think the Melbourne Magearnas, I like his team way more, but I also feel like that top five is really strong. That's a really strong top five. Like, you get the defensive goat and Gliscor being able to set up hazards, being able to talk like poison heal stall things. Like, the thing is just really good. Like, you can even spam toxic because poison and steel types don't want to switch on you because you're a ground type. Like, it is the perfect Pokemon to be able to wall most physical attackers that your mons don't want to deal with. And then you have Clefable, which can be run specially defensive with Unaware if you're worried about it, or it can be ran like Calm Mind, Life Orb, Magic Guard. You can do really good things with a lot of these mons, and I feel like you have huge potential to be able to move up. I just feel like personally that Melbourne Magearnas has a little bit more potential, but I am just a bit biased. And then Independent Registeels. This is Willow's team. I rank this team at really, really high, and I still do think that this team has really good potential because, like, it's a Sun team that you don't have to run in Sun. You have your flying type that can spam Hurricane, and because it's got no guard, it doesn't worry about the Sun. You got Ledge, which I actually think is one of the kill leaders, right? Yes, it is one of the top 10 kill leaders. It's died a lot of times, but 7 kills is pretty good, especially for being like one of the teams that's a little bit lower on the list. Like, that's pretty impressive. Um, but yeah, again, I really like the team overall. Same general thing that I have said before. I really don't like the Clawitzer. Like, he's brought it to multiple different games, and I just feel like it's been dead weight every single time. I know he likes it, but if you want a water type, especially a special attacking water type, you should always be bringing the Walking Wake. And I just don't like the Clawitzer here. I like the Jolteon. It's a really good electric type. Um, Very fast. Like, it's just the most generic electric type, but it does its job really well. Bronzong, I like because you can run heat proof with it as well, which he has done a few times, I imagine. Grimmsnarl, I really like. He played his points so well, but I feel like that Clawitzer has been holding him back so bad. Like, get rid of that Clawitzer and get a steel, like a either. No, he already has a steel type. Um, you do have a fairy type. You don't need a low tier fairy. You have just about every like sort of type, but you don't need another water type on a sun team. I feel like, if anything, get another fire type. Like, yeah, you have Ledge and Torkoal already, but Torkoal's your sun setter, and Ledge is your main offensive fire type. Okay, great. But get another one. Like, pick up a Typhlosion if you have the points for it, granted. Like, I don't remember how many points it is. But, like, get a Mon that can just abuse the ever-living hell out of the sun. Like, I feel like every single time I've watched your team, I feel like you have so much potential. But it's just like, not that you haven't been playing well, it's just that damn Clawitzer. But yeah, that is generally what I am sort of thinking. This is another team I really can see jumping up. You're at -5 differential. That is crazy for being in 14th place. Like, all of your games have been really close. Really, really close. So this is another one of the teams that I could definitely see making playoffs if played correctly. Like, stop bringing the Clawitzer, bring Walking Wake, get the booster stuff with the sun and everything, a proto boost, that's what I mean, and then just start clicking buttons. You don't have to think too hard. And again, I don't want to sound mean or anything. It's just I hate that mon. And it's frustrating because I feel like it's dead weight on your team. And I really think your team can do so well. Then next up, we have the Navy Seals. He and I played our week 6. We're the only team who have played week 6. I can take it into account, but I'm not going to like count it as gospel or anything. If anything, me playing against him helps me give a little bit more insight on his team. Dries, yes. I really like his team. I really like his team. But it's mainly just because like I'm a big offensive user. I love using really offensive teams that can just bust open holes in opponents' teams. And if you end up losing, it's always going to be like by a very little amount. And even then, you have really good defensive Pokemon in Clodsire and Skarmory. And even then, some of your offensive Pokemon can be defensive, like Volcanion can be defensive, Zygarde can be more defensive. Like, I really like it overall. And Slurpuff, I feel like this thing is really good value. It gets Sticky Web, which is really nice, like, just as an idea. Something that I genuinely, like, contemplated when I was prepping for your team was Slurpuff Sticky Web with Choice Band Garmanitan. Like, yeah, that thing is not... Yeah, it's still being able to be abused to a degree, but, like, the fact that you can do that is really good. Like, slap a Focus Sash on this thing so you can always get the Sticky Web up, and then just, like, that's all you really need to do. Then I think you can get the Unburden boost, and then you can, like, click Thunder Wave or something once. Like, this thing can be really annoying if played correctly. And Shiftry, I don't really see it exactly, but I get it. It's another Dark type. Dark types are really good, and you don't have a Grass type. Okay, really good low-tier Grass. Especially since it gets Wind Rider now, so it's immune to Hurricane and Heat Wave. So really good overall, like good buffs. Not my personal favorite, but that's just me. I really like your team overall, and I feel like you're another person who could move up to playoff position. 2 and 4, really good results so far, especially since all your losses have been not too bad. Like being at -3 with 4 losses, like that's really good. But yeah, that's just my overall opinion there. And I feel like you're another person who could definitely move up to playoffs. And I hope you do. I really enjoyed playing against you. Really fun overall. Fun team. Also, I remember you mentioned that you're not really the biggest fan of hyper offense or really big offense. Didn't really enjoy your team very much. I completely get it. I was sort of feeling the same way about my team when I first drafted it. Maybe with a little bit of tweaking, you can find your niche a little bit better with this team. Like I remember you saying you didn't really like Zeraora very much, which I do understand. It's got really good physical moves, but its special move pool is also really well suited for it, but it's much weaker. So I can really understand where you're coming from there. And then next up here, we have the Taranto Rantrums. Whose team is that? Oh, Byronio. Okay. So far, Byronio is -12, but he is also 2 and 3. So he has won more games and lost fewer ones, but the ones that he has lost were bigger losses. I will sort of say the same general things that I did before. After watching most of your games, I feel like I have always seen generally the same ones on your team. I feel like you brought Tapu Fini almost every... No, yeah, just about every week. Vaporeon has come a lot. Mega Beetle has come quite a lot. Not Mega, Galarian, not even Galarian, dang. Hisuian, Gudra has been brought a lot, and Roserade has been brought quite a bit. And then the other times it has been like Darmanitan, Raikou, or Pangoro, I feel like. And I mean, yeah, like not using these two Mons is very fair. I didn't really like. I still haven't been the biggest fan of Noivern personally. I mean, like it's got good speed. I don't think it gets Draco, and if it does, then that's my bad then. But it's just not as strong as you would want your dragon to be. It gives a really good speed tier though, and it's got good support moves like Taunt and Tailwind. But I can definitely see why you haven't brought it yet and everything, especially since like having a 4 times ice weakness isn't really nice when you are doing when you have mons like that. And for it, yeah, with tidy up and everything, like that's pretty much its only niche is tidy up. And why would you ever click tidy up when you can just defog with this thing? Or do you have rapid spin? Unless I'm forgetting a mon, I don't think you have rapid spin. So yeah, maybe that's enough. Oh yeah, Tapu Fini also has defog. So you're almost never going to be using tidy up. You're almost always going to be using defog use on one of those mons. It does the same general thing, but like because Furret, like even the Dragon Dance on a Furret, it's not gonna live long enough to use it. I love the walking boy, but yeah. Overall, I do really enjoy your team still. It's just like I said in my initial analysis, it's not a team that I would personally enjoy using, but I know a lot of these mons you have stated that you like using, and that's 100% valid and fair to you, and you have been doing well. Like 2 and 3 is still a good overall placement. The differential kind of sucks, but hey, if you keep winning games, like the differential isn't going to matter that much because it's always the win-loss ratio that comes into consideration first. So for sure, if you're finding success with what you're doing, I 100% recommend just sticking with it then. And then Cereal Edge Crusade. This is one that I was surprised has been doing as well as it has. Nothing against what's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? It's literally a part of Final Crusader. Not anything to do with how you have been playing. It's just I don't like your team. Like Pult and Megazam are goated Pokemon, but you have no defense. I have tried like helping people mock with your team, and I cannot use this thing worth crap. Like I am running hyper offense every single time, and every time it's not worked. Good on you for using it 100%. Like if you're finding success, go you. It's just I can't do it. Like I just genuinely don't know how you do it. And having like Dragapult and Megazam is great there. But then it's like you have these incredibly fast Pokemon, Kilowattrel as well. And then you have like Iron Hands, Incineroar, Torterra, like the slowest Pokemon around. Or at least not the slowest, but you get what I mean. And Sinistcha isn't very fast either. Manaphy is a good middle ground. Same thing with Kilowattrel. These two, like, you're almost never going to bring. Like, I've seen people use Kara Pikachu, but regular Pikachu, unless they don't have a ground type, I don't see them ever bringing it. And ground type is one of the best typings in draft, so I don't really see that being a possibility. But overall, like, I was surprised to see how much success you were getting, but honestly, good on you. Like, I think I rated your team last, but that's just like from how I would enjoy playing your team. If you like playing with your team and you're getting good success out of it, I may not get it, but good on you there. Like I think you're +2 right now in diff. Yeah. Like you're doing really well for yourself right now. Like Heck, maybe I could talk to you one of these days and find out like what you like so much about your team so far. But yeah, that's just the main thing with where I'm at. And then next up we have the Center City Ledge. Um, okay, Center City Ledge. Where are we at? Oh, Victory Stars. Again, a really interesting like area to be here. Where was he with differential? He's at +8, but he hasn't played his last week yet. Oh yeah, because he's playing Joey. Okay, that explains it. I think this is going to be a playoff team. Like he's at +8 differential. All of his wins have been big, but his losses have been big. So it kind of evens out. Well, not big, but his losses have been like, okay, I can't talk right now. His wins have been big, but his losses have been pretty small, so he has been having really good differential, but he's lower overall on the seeds because he's currently behind the higher win-loss ratio people. And that's definitely to be expected. His team has really good synergies with each other, like the Torn T and Audino Regenerator Core along with Mienshao. 3 Regenerators is honestly so disgusting. And with Snow and Veil for backs, that is so nice. And then having one of the best hazard setters in Glamora, a really solid steel type in Metagross, especially since you also don't have a psychic type, so that is your psychic as well. And a really good spin blocker and spinner in itself being Delmise. Like, honestly, I love your team. It seems like such a fun team to use. And I genuinely feel like you are going to be one of the guys who's going to be going to playoffs 100%. Like, your standing doesn't quite reflect it just yet, but I feel like you're going to be at least top 8. Because all your losses have been by like narrow margins, like even just like RNG possibly, but your wins have been big, and I honestly feel like it would be like criminal for you to not be top 8 and go to playoffs. And then next up we have Surf and Wakes. I do know this team. I think I played against this team. Let me see. Surf and Wakes. Yep. Lot Milk. The General Rain team. Personally, I liked your team better before you made these transactions with these mons. I can't remember all of what you had, but I remember you had Drapion, and I honestly feel like Drapion on your team fits better than all of these. Like, I feel like you're never going to bring Gabite. Like, you're never going to bring Stantler. A Slitherwing I can get. I like Slitherwing. You don't have a bug type. You don't have a fighting type. It does well. And if a guy wants to set up Sun, for example, to get rid of your rain, then you have a mon to abuse that. And not only that, but you also have Flare Blitz as well to be able to be boosted in the Sun. So if someone wants to get rid of your weather, then you have a mon to abuse that other weather. I like that idea. But Gabite and Stantler, I really don't like it. Forretress, I can get. Like, it's not a great Pokemon, but at the same time, like, getting rocks up is nice, getting spikes up is good. Like, that's all it really needs to do. It's going to be a suicide lead, and maybe, like, spin away an opponent's hazards one time before it dies. Like, that's all it really needs to do. I like your team because it can be so explosively damaging. Like, I was really worried about your team. Sylveon, I think it's a really good mon, but just against my team, I feel like you should have brought Drapion instead of it. Like, I feel like Drapion instead of Sylveon there would have beat me, honestly. But that's just how I feel. If you feel like that you will get use out of Stantler and Gabite, great. But that's just my opinion. I feel like you could have kept Drapion and maybe gotten a 1-pointer if you still had the point left, and then kept Slitherwing. But yeah, that's just me. Again, I feel like you could be playoffs. You do have the win-loss ratio, which is pretty good so far, and whether teams are very hit or miss. And I feel like if you just happen to get a few more hits, then you could definitely make it to playoffs for sure. Granted, I'm kind of going to be saying that for everyone going up, especially once we get towards the top, because it'll be hard to drop. Let's be honest. Once you get that many wins, unless you consistently start losing, then I don't think so. But, okay. Who else do we have next? San Francisco Superiors. I think this was one of the teams that I didn't rank very high. Oh yeah. El King, my boy. Me and him have been sort of like talking since the start of the draft, helping each other out with mocks and stuff. We haven't really talked for the last couple matches, but I honestly really like the changes he made on his team. There are a few things that I would like to just give my opinion on. I really like his top five. His top five are really good, and I really like these four. However, as much as Dunsparce has kind of cooked, I feel like you brought it quite a few times. Like, Dunsparce is one of those mons that you bring like once, twice, just to like mix up the opponent, and then you more so reliably like run the other mons. I feel like the last two games in a row you brought Dunsparce, and while yes, you did end up winning, that's just something that I like to note is I would like to see you run these other mons a little bit better. Like for example, Sandaconda, I think you did do loaded dice. Yeah, you did do loaded dice one week. But doing loaded dice with like coil or something like that would be really sick. I don't think you've even brought Mega Main before. And if you have, maybe only once. But Mega Main would be a great bring for you for some weeks. Nihilego you've brought a couple weeks. Like, all of these Pokemon are really good, and I think you could get really good use out of, but I think just maybe try bringing Dunsparce a little bit less, I would say. But again, like, it does do good things when you do bring it. Like, I've always been able to see your reasoning for why you brought it, but I would just like to see you use your other mons a little bit more than this mon, personally. And then looking at the standings, 3-2 and a 1 differential, same as Surf and Wakes. Just so happen to be tied. Yeah, that's pretty much all I would really say. I could definitely see you staying in the playoff position. It all just depends on how things go from here. I think you have used all of your free agents, if I remember correctly. But yeah, and if you ever need any mocks, feel free to reach out. And then next up we have the St. John Sharpedos. This is Cran's team. I remember playing against him. I really like Cran's team. There were a few things that I feel like could have cooked me in my game against him that he didn't end up bringing. I don't think. Yeah. What might he not bring that I really thought he was going to? I thought he was going to do Mandibuzz, I believe, and he didn't bring it, or Amoonguss. Either way, I know he brought Mudsdale instead of the Pokemon that I thought he was going to use. And I ended up winning that week, but your team is really good. Really, really solid overall. Potential sticky webs on Rabombi is really good. Getting rocks up with Mudsdale or Garchomp with spikes. Like, I generally really like your team overall. The only thing I would say is Mudsdale is kind of redundant when it comes to Garchomp, when it comes to like hazard setting or whatever, because you have Garchomp, but at the same time I can sort of get it. If you want to run offensive Chomp but still want to do Stealth Rock, then you kind of have to run Mudsdale. It's just then you're kind of both weak to ice, which is something I kind of noticed with a good portion of your team. Like weak to ice, weak to ice, weak to ice, weak to ice. But you do make up for it with having 3 mons that are not weak to ice. So it does even itself out. And then Glaceon, I don't mind it. I feel like it can do pretty decently in certain cases, but I don't see you really bringing it ever. I guess I could maybe see you bringing it to your match with Victory Stars if you ever play them, but yeah, that's just me personally. Overall, really solid team, really good defensive Pokemon, really good offensive Mons, just really balanced. Not very much type overlap, other than like the Garchomp and Mudsdale. But yeah, I definitely see you in playoffs, 110%. And then we got Forza. I played against Forza in week 1, and I kind of hacked them a little bit with the Gligar crit. But overall, I really like his team. Like, I feel like it's a little top heavy with Annihilate and Mega Scizor, and then the rest of his team being, on, for lack of better words, a little on the more mid side. However, after watching him play, like, a lot of these mons can cook. Like, Regirock, Rock Blast, Loaded Dice, that thing cooks, man. And Gligar is really defensive. Overquill, really good. Avalugg kind of garbage, but yeah. Primarina is really good, especially with an AV. Victini is really good. I like Victini. I kind of wish you would run it physical more often, but that's just me. Appleton is really good. Like, I really have been warming up to your team watching you play, especially watching your videos and everything, and seeing how you like to rank everything and how you prep for everything and do all that stuff. And with your +5 diff and 3-2, I definitely see you staying in playoffs, especially if you continue to cook the way you've been cooking with that loaded dice Regirock. Yeah, I would love to see you in playoffs. Hell, I'd love to get a rematch with you in playoffs, so hopefully I'll see you there then. Okay, and then next up we have the New York Garchomps. I do remember playing against him, I believe. Actually, no, I didn't play against him yet. IHLP. Okay, I remember this team because I've actually helped a few different people prep using this team. And honestly, this is, again, a really good team. Like, a really solid Quark Drive team. Really strong physical offense with Tauros Paldea. I think this is the water one. As well as the Mega Charizard. And then having really good defense with Alomomola. Muck has actually been surprisingly good for him. And Gourgeist, while it's not my top pick, it is a really decent spin blocker, and it can get off Leech Seed and just generally be really annoying. So I would definitely say that it's not too bad. I would say it's a pseudo Dhelmise. It's not nearly as good as Dhelmise because it is significantly stronger, but defensively I feel like it is fairly okay. And then Mesprit is a very solid general all-around Pokemon, I feel like. Not too bad. And then, of course, the Quark drivers are all great. Iron Treads being able to spin away any hazards, as well as being very fast, especially under Quark Drive, and just being really physically strong as well. And then the two special attackers are really strong as well. Iron Bundle, everyone knows what it does. It does its job really well. Tapu Koko, it sets up the terrain, but it also can just click strong electric moves as well, which pairs up really well because its main weakness is ground, which gets easily covered by Gourgeist or even Iron Bundle here as well. So overall, I really like his team. There's not much I would change about it, to be honest. He is 3-2 so far with a 5 differential, same as Forza. I really feel like this is another one that's going to stick around for a long time. Just a really strong overall team. Not much I can really say that I would change at all. Like, he's got all the necessary typings. The only thing I would really say is kind of lacking a steel type here, which does suck. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you are fairly weak. Actually, no, you do have a steel type. I forgot about iron treads. My bad. Yeah, you're completely set. Um, Overall, yeah, I have absolutely no issues with your team whatsoever. Um, and I could definitely see you being hell even like top 5 as well. Um, and then next up we have Claire Kingdras. This is one of the teams that I actually didn't expect to be this high, I don't think. Not that I thought it was bad or anything, just that I didn't initially see the um, I didn't see the synergy as easily. But overall, he has made some changes, picking up Galarian Wheezing, which to be able to support Unburden on Halucha. Cradily, I think, was still here. He has the Dunsparce now. Um, Overall, I really like these mons. I like this synergy with these Pokemon here, and the fact that you don't always have to run Misty Surge is really nice. And the fact that you don't always need to be running a terrain team in order to support Halucha is really nice. Mega Mawile has been doing crazy things lately. Like nothing has been able to beat it. It has been so good. And I did really like I can't remember what game it was. I think it was against Joey when you had it being Hyper Cutter as regular Mawile instead of Intimidate. So when he switched in his Tornadus Therian, you didn't get your attack lowered, and then you Mega'd and then killed it in return afterwards. So while, yeah, it's pretty basic tech, I thought it was really good planning, because for me at least, I probably would have just slapped on Intimidate, because usually that is the better move to have, not move, better ability to have on it, so I probably would have just autopiloted. So overall, I really like your team. The Dunsparce, everyone loves him. He is such a good boy. When are you running Choice Specs Boom Burst? But for real, like Azelf, really good lead, as well as just being very strong as well. Donphan, really good mon. Loved when you ran it with an Assault Vest. That thing really does crazy well when given the opportunity. And then Hydreigon and Mega Mawile are your main offensive Pokemon. And then Rotom Wash is a good like middle grounder where it can be defensive or offensive. And I would say that you don't have a single bad Pokemon on your team. Everything can have a general good use, depending on the matchup, and that's really what you're sort of aiming for when it comes to your lower tiered points Pokemon, is when you can really actually use it. So overall, I really like your team, and again, I can see you staying here in the playoffs. And next up, we've got the Bristol Durquazas. The one loss that I have is against Meep. And overall, this is honestly probably one of the best teams. I know you're top 3. I would even argue your team is better than mine, to be honest. Like, yeah, you beat me and everything, but like, that damn Haxorus. I underestimated that thing so hard. But you just got a super strong team. Like, really good defensive mons with Tinglu, Seismitoad, defensive Scizor, which can be offensive as well. And then really strong defense with Crocolore. I don't really see you using Delosion ever, but it's definitely possible. Running a Violite with like screens or something is something I could see you doing. Like, not that you would never do it, but if you're going to bring one of your low tiers, it's probably going to be Crocolore, in my opinion. And then Arboliva is really good, synergy with Sneasler. And then Spectrier is just really good on its own, and it's a really good, strong, and fast special attacker to be able to support your more so physically oriented team with Sneasler, Scizor, Haxorus, and I guess Seismitoad can also be special too, with Scald and everything. But overall, your team is just really, really strong. Like, if you're not top 3 by the end of the season, I would be surprised. Like, I have nothing on your team. Really strong hazards with Tinglu, really good sweeping potential with the majority of your Pokemon, really strong defense. Like, I could honestly see you winning the entire thing, to be completely honest. I think you have a better shot than I do at winning. But yeah, that's pretty much the main thing there. And then next up we have me, I guess. Also, with Claire Kingdra's, he is at +9 differential with a 4-1 loss, 4-1 ratio, and Meep is 11 with a 4-1 ratio as well. The next up is me. My differential is a little bit skewed because, again, I played my week 6 already against Dries earlier this week, as you can see in my previous video. So my numbers are a little skewed here. Meep definitely, well, actually no, he doesn't have a chance of passing me just yet. You'd need to get a 6-0 and then, yeah, next week as well. But my team, I would say I'm doing decently well. I can't really say much about my team, to be completely honest. But yeah, I did make a few changes that I did end up enjoying pretty well. Dropping Zarude for Celebi, I really enjoyed. Picking up Berserker, it did surprisingly well in Meep's game. Definitely see it coming more often later on in the season. Cyclozar, I definitely like way better than having Flygon, mainly because while its stats aren't nearly as good as Flygon, it gives me a really good speed tier as well as potential rapid spin, and having another regenerator user with Galarian Slowking, it does give some usage with U-Turn and then like Draco Meteor. Like, even with a base 90 special attack stat, Draco Meteor is still going to do pretty good damage. So while it's not the best mon, it's definitely better than it could have been. And I do really like Morgrim way better than my previous one-pointer in Why Not, mainly because Morgrim with Prankster, it can get up screens, it can Parting Shot, it can T-Wave, and with its main attacking move being Foul Play, like, you can still do decent damage on physical attackers. Like, it's a baby Grimmsnarl. Like, it's gonna do decently when I do end up bringing it. It's just I haven't had a time to bring it yet. But overall, I like the current area of my team, and being second place overall, I honestly think that it won't last because I've been at least 6-0'd once in every game that I have, not every game, in every league that I've been in. So hopefully that doesn't continue, but at the same time, I am not really holding my breath too much. And then finally, we are ending off with the Silvally Swedes Mana Burns team. And Mana Burn, he has been cooking this season. He ended up making a few trades, I believe. He ended up trading with... he traded with Dries for Empoleon and gave him his Skarmory. I really like that change. Skarmory, while yes, it did do fairly well, I think Empoleon is significantly better for his team, especially considering that he didn't have a water type previously, so this gives him an extra mon, like an extra typing that he didn't have previously. And with Oricorio, he can bring any of the typings. Cacturn has been surprisingly decent when it's come. Miss Mag has been alright, I believe. I think he's brought it before. But yeah, honestly, really strong overall team. Ursaluna Blood Moon is going to do its thing. I think it's one of the top kill leaders. Yeah, it is top 4 with 10 kills, just being behind Iron Treads, Mega Mawile, and Sneasler. Sneasler I definitely see for sure, as well as Mega Mawile. I was surprised to see that Iron Treads got so many kills, but I digress. Overall, what can I really say about Manaburn's team? He has been doing so well. He's been cooking like crazy, bringing really strong mons with really diverse move pools. Like his Mega Altaria and his Mew have all been like very diverse. And Empoleon has been really strong defensively for him. Cacturn has been getting surprisingly good usage. And yeah, overall, his team has been really solid this season. I definitely could see him winning as well. It is my personal opinion that finals will be, if it lines up correctly to where they're not playing each other earlier in the draft, I could definitely see it being Manaburn and Meep in the finals. I'm calling it now, folks. But yeah, that is overall the general idea of, yeah. So far, that is generally where all the standings are this season. For my predictions for playoffs, of course, I believe that since I believe everyone in the top 3 is going to be staying in playoffs so far. Yeah, they might drop a little bit, especially me, I feel like. I definitely could see all these people staying in the playoffs. Claire Kingdra's, I believe he will continue because the win-loss ratio has been so good. The only way is if he really starts losing a bunch of battles and ends up dropping a bit more. And then everyone else I feel like is a little bit more of a toss-up in this scenario. I could see... Yeah. But some of the people that I'm hoping to play in playoffs, I really want to replay Forza again. I want to play Manaburn. I believe I do play him in main season, but I definitely want to play him at some point. I would like my rematch with Meep, but at the same time, I'm also pretty afraid of his team, so I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, overall, that is generally my thoughts on how everyone is doing so far. I'm sorry if I was a little bit mean at all, especially with Byronio's team. Again, it's nothing to do with how you play. You've been playing really well this season. I've really enjoyed watching all your battles. It's not a team that I really enjoy, but again, that's all preferences when it comes to Mons. And I really do think that you can make playoffs this season, especially with how you've been playing. You've been playing really well, especially recently. And Victory Stars, you've been doing really well. Overall, I feel like everyone here at least has a shot. It is fairly close, and it's only halfway through the season, so there's always possibilities for things to get mixed up. The only person I don't see making it to playoffs would be Joey, but again, he's been having personal things going on, so where he hasn't been able to use as much time in Mons, and it's 100% understandable there. Nothing against how he plays. He cooked really well in the LVL, another league that we were in, so I know for sure that it's not based off of skill level or anything. But yeah, overall, I am really excited to see how everyone plays in the upcoming matches. I'll try to make as many as I possibly can. And something that I have been thinking of doing was possibly doing watch parties of everyone's matches at the end of the season, or at the end of every week, so then we can all review each other's matches and everything. Possibly I could make a video out of it if everyone would be interested in that. Just doing a full week recap. Leave a comment if that's something you'd be enjoying, or reach out to me on the Discord. But anyways, that is just about it, everybody. I hope y'all have a good rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.